Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Shiver. Finally, I know. Before this video goes up, there should be another one. It's like 4 minutes long. You don't have to watch it. Just a quick summation. My depression's come back, and it's as bad as ever. My car wouldn't start the last couple of days, and I just haven't had the drive. I didn't do that on purpose. To upload videos. Or record, for that matter. I didn't record any the last couple of days. I wish I had, so that, you know, I'd have a bit of a buffer, but I'm still not feeling 100%, and I might take a break, maybe for a week at most. I'll let you guys know whenever I decide it's time for me to come back, if I decide to take a break. Anyway, we are in chapter 17, Sam, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. I think, yeah, that's where the card was. Anyway, some days seem to fit together like a stained glass window. 100 little pieces of different color and mood that, when combined, create a complete picture. Sorry. The last 24 hours had been like that. The night at the hospital was one pain, sickly green and flickering. The dark hours of the early morning in Grace's bed were another, cloudy and purple. Then the cold blue reminder of my other life this morning, and finally the brilliant, clear pain that was our kiss. I had forgotten about that. In the current pain, we sat down on the worn bench of an old Bronco at the edge, of a run-down, overgrown car lot on the outskirts of town. It seemed like a complete picture was starting to come into focus, a shimmering portrait of something I thought I couldn't have. Grace ran her fingers over the Bronco's steering wheel with a thoughtful, fond touch, and then turned to me. Let's play 20 questions. I've never played. Is that fun? If you're smart. I was lying back in the passenger seat, eyes closed, and letting the afternoon sun cook me through the windshield. It felt good. Shouldn't you be looking at other cars? You know, car shopping usually involves shopping. I don't shop very well, Grace said. I just see what I need and I get it. I laughed at that. I was beginning to see how very Grace such a statement was. What? Oh, okay, gotcha. She narrowed her eyes at me in mock irritation and crossed her arms over her chest. So questions. These aren't optional. You don't mess with people like that, because they will hurt you. Where was I? I glanced out across the car lot to make sure that the owner hadn't returned from towing her car yet. Here in Mercy Falls, the towing company and the used car company were one and the same. Okay, better not be anything embarrassing. Grace slid over a little closer to me on the bench seat and slouched down in a mirror image of my posture. I felt like this was the first question. Her leg pressed against my leg, her shoulder pressed against my shoulder, her tightly laced shoe resting on top of my scuffed leather one. My pulse raced, a wordless answer. Grace's voice was pragmatic, as if she didn't know the effect she was having on me. I want to know what makes you a wolf. That one was easy. When the temperature drops, I become a wolf. When it's cold at night and warm during the day, I can feel it coming on, and then finally, it's cold enough that I shift into a wolf until spring. The others too? I nodded. The longer you're a wolf, the warmer it has to be for you to become human. I paused for a moment, wondering if now was the time to tell her. Nobody knows how many years you get of switching back and forth. It's different for every wolf. Grace just looked at me, the same long look she'd given me when she was younger, lying in the snow, looking up at me. I couldn't read it any better now than I could then. I felt my throat tighten in anticipation of her reply, but mercifully, she changed her line of questioning. How many of you are there? I wasn't sure, just because so many of us didn't become humans anymore. About 20. What? About 20 That seems like a lot. What do you guys think? What do you eat? Baby bunnies? She narrowed her eyes, so I grinned and said, adult bunnies too. I'm an equal opportunity bunny eater. She didn't skip a beat. What was on your face the night you let me touch you? Oh, right, yeah, I remember. Her voice stayed the same for this question, but something around her eyes tightened, as though... Sorry. As though she wasn't sure she wanted to hear the answer. I had to struggle to remember that night. Her fingers in my ruff, her breath moving the fine hairs on the side of my face. The guilty pleasure of being so close to her. The boy, the one who was bitten. That was what she was really asking. Do you mean there was blood on my face? Grace nodded. Part of me felt a little sad that she had to ask, but of course she did. She had every reason not to trust me. It wasn't his. That boy's. Jack, she said. Jack, I repeated. I knew the attack happened, but I wasn't there for it. I had to dig deeper into my memory to trace the source of the blood on my muzzle. My human brain supplied logical answers. Rabbit, deer, roadkill, all of them instantly stronger than my actual wolf memories. Fondly, I snatched the real answer from my thoughts, though I wasn't proud of it. It was a cat. I've lost a couple of cats. Well, me personally, I haven't lost them, but they ran away and never came back, so I don't want to think about them being killed. The blood, I'd caught a cat. Grace let out a breath. You aren't upset that it was a cat? I asked. You have to eat. If it wasn't Jack, I don't care if it was a wallaby. That'd be interesting, she said, but it was obvious her mind was still on Jack. I tried to remember what little I knew of the attack, hating for her to think badly of my pack. He provoked them, you know, I said. He what? You weren't there, were you? I shook my head and struggled to explain. We can't. The wolves, when we communicate, it's with images. Nothing complicated, and not across great distances, but if we're right by each other, we can share an image with another wolf, and so the wolves that attacked Jack, they showed me the images. You can read each other's minds? Grace asked, incredulous, which is a word I don't get to use often. I shook my head vigorously, a word I don't use at all, clearly. No, it's hard to explain as me. It's just a way of talking, but our brains are different as wolves. There's no abstract concepts, really. Things like time and names and complicated emotions are all out of the question. Really, it's for things like hunting or warning each other of danger. And what did you see about Jack? I lowered my eyes. It felt strange recalling a wolf memory from a human mind. Oh, dear. I flipped through the blurry images in my head, recognizing now that the red blotches on the wolves' coats were bullet wounds, and that the stains on their lips were Jack's blood. Some of the wolves showed me something about being hit by them. Gun? He must have had a BB gun. He was wearing a red shirt. Wolves saw color poorly, but red we could see. Why would he do that? I shook my head. I don't know. That's not the sort of thing we told each other. Grace was quiet, still thinking about Jack, I suppose. We sat in the close silence until I started to wonder whether she was upset. Then she spoke. So you never got to open Christmas presents? I looked at her, not knowing how to respond. Christmas was something that happened in another life, one before the wolves. Grace looked down at the steering wheel. I was just thinking that you were never around in the summer, and I always loved Christmas because I knew you'd always be there, in the woods as a wolf. I guess it's because it's cold, right? But that must mean you never get to open Christmas presents. I shook my head. I changed too early now to even see Christmas decorations in stores. Grace frowned at the steering wheel. Do you think of me when you're a wolf? When I was a wolf, I was a memory of a boy, struggling to hold on to meaningless words. I didn't want to tell her the truth, that I couldn't remember her name. I think of the way you smell, I said truthfully. I reached over and lifted a few strands of her hair to my nose. The scent of her shampoo reminded me of the scent of her skin. I swallowed and let her hair fall back down to her shoulder. That's kind of creepy. Grace's eyes followed my hand from her shoulder to my lap. What? And I saw her swallow too. The obvious question, when I would change back again, hung between us. But neither of us put words to it. I wasn't ready to tell her yet. My chest ached at the thought of leaving all of this behind. Remind me to feed Iggy when I'm done. So, she said again and put her hand on the steering wheel. Do you know how to drive? I pulled my wallet from my jeans pocket and proffered it. It's not a word I've seen before. The state of Minnesota seems to think so. She extracted my driver's license, held it up against the steering wheel, and read aloud, Samuel K. Roth. Oh my goodness. She added with some surprise, this is an actual license. You must really be real. I laughed. You still doubt it? I'm kind of itchy. Ow. Instead of answering, Grace handed my wallet back and asked, is that your real name? Aren't you supposedly dead like Jack? I wasn't sure I wanted to talk about this, but I answered anyway. It wasn't the same. I wasn't bitten as badly, and some stranger saved me from being dragged off. Nobody pronounced me dead like they did with Jack. So yes, that's my real name. Grace looked thoughtful, and I wondered what she was thinking. Then abruptly she looked at me, expression dark. So your parents know that what you are, right? That's why they... She stopped and sort of half closed her eyes. I could see her swallowing again. It makes you sick for weeks afterward, I said, rescuing her from finishing the sentence. The wolf toxin, I guess. While it's changing you, I couldn't stop shifting back and forth, no matter how warm or cold I was. I paused, the memories flickering through my head like photos from someone else's camera. I thought I was possessed. Then it got warm and I improved. Became stable, I mean. And they thought I was cured. Saved, I suppose. Until winter. For a while they tried to get the church to do something about me. Finally they decided to do something themselves. They're both serving life sentences now. They didn't realize that we're harder to kill than most people. That's sad. Grace's face was nearing a pale shade of green, and the knuckles on her hand clutching the steering wheel had turned white. Let's talk about something else. I'm sorry, I said, and I really was. Let's talk about cars. Is this one your betrothed? I mean, assuming it runs okay. I don't know anything about cars, but I can at least pretend. Runs okay sounds like something someone would say if they knew what they were talking about, right? She seized the subject, petting the steering wheel. I do like it. It's very ugly, I said generously, but it looks as though it would laugh at snow, and if you hit a deer, it would just hiccup and keep going. Grace added, plus it's got a pretty appealing front seat. I mean, I can just... Grace leaned across the bench seat toward me, lightly resting one of her hands on my leg. Now she was an inch away from me, close enough that I felt the heat of her breath on my lips. I'm uncomfortable. Close enough that I could feel her waiting for me to lean into her too. Where was I? In my head, an image flashed of Grace in her backyard, her hand outstretched, imploring me to come to her. But I couldn't. Then, it was another world, one that demanded I keep my distance. Now I couldn't help but wonder whether I still lived in that world, bound by its rules. My human skin was only mocking me, taunting me with riches that would vanish at the first freeze. Like Gotham. I'm itchy. I sat back from her and looked away before I could see her disappointment. The silence was thick around us. Tell me about after you were bitten, I said, just to say something. Did you get sick? Grace leaned back in her seat and sighed. I wondered how many times I'd disappointed her before. I don't know. It seems like such a long time ago. I guess. Maybe. I remember having the flu right afterward. After I was bitten, it had felt like the flu too. Exhaustion, hot and cold shakes, nausea, burning the back of my throat, bones aching to change form. Grace shrugged. That was the year I got locked in the car too. It was a month or two after the attack. It was spring, but it was really hot. My dad took me along with him to run some errands because I guess I was too young to leave behind. She glanced at me to see if I was listening. I was. Anyway, I had the flu, I guess, and I was just stupid with sleep. So on the way home, I fell asleep in the back seat, and the next thing I remember was waking up in the hospital. I guess Dad had gotten home and gotten the groceries out and forgotten about me. Just left me locked in the car, I guess. They said I tried to get out, but I don't remember that, really. I don't remember anything until the hospital, where the nurse was saying that it was the hottest May day on record for Mercy Falls. The doctor told my dad the heat in the car should have killed me, so I'm a miracle girl. How's that, for responsible parenting? I shook my head in disbelief. There was a brief silence that gave me enough time to notice the consternation in her expression and remind me that I sincerely regretted not kissing her a moment ago. I thought about saying, show me what you meant earlier when you said you liked this front seat, but I couldn't imagine my mouth forming those words, so instead I just took her hand and ran my finger along her palm, in between her fingers, tracing the lines of her hand and letting my skin memorize her prints. There we go. Grace made a small sound of appreciation and closed her eyes as my fingers whispered circles on her skin. Somehow, this was almost better than kissing. And it's just as uncomfortable. Both of us jerked when someone tapped on the glass on my side of the car. The tow truck driver and car lot owner stood there peering in at us. His voice came through muffled by the glass. You find what you were looking for? I reached across and Grace reached across and rolled the window down. She was talking to him, but looking at me, gaze intense, when she said, "Absolutely." That kind of took a lot out of me, so I'm going to go ahead and end the video. I'm going to end the reading here and then end the video when I end the video. I don't know. I need to wake up. 1 second. Okay, I'm better. That actually hurt. Anyway, sorry for kind of a long intro. Sorry for a strange outro. Let me know what you guys think. Should I take some time off? Should I not? Should I work myself into a deep depression that I can never get out of? Should I go to the doctor? I mean, I should go to the doctor. I already know that, but I'm not gonna. At least not for, like, physical pain, although I really should. That poster is crooked. It's gonna bother me now. Anyway, let me know your guys' thoughts. I don't think I'll have a third video up today. But if I do, you'll know. Anyway, until next time. Goodbye, everybody.